G'day, Steeler Nation. Welcome back to Steelers Nation Australia. And also, welcome back to the Steel Curtain Network and the show. G'day, Steelers Nation. A few weeks ago, I was talking about Mason Rudolph possibly being QB1. Then last week, I brought up the fact that Aaron Rodgers had some lunch or some time and he was hanging out at the Steelers facility. This week, it's more of the same. However, Mike Tomlin has now commented on what has been happening with A-Rod, but nothing's really been said. And I'm kind of in two ways with this. And for you Steeler Nation out there, if you are listening on Steeler Nation Australia, or you're listening on Steel Curtain Network with many shows, Let's Ride, Bad does a few shows here and there, Scobro show, Jeremy Betts, all those guys out there are awesome. And I'm really thankful to be back talking Pittsburgh Steelers football. We got the draft coming up soon as well. The draft coming up in about 20-something days. Now, I'll put it out there to anyone who doesn't know, or my kind of backstory in podcasting and Steelers podcasting and on my Steeler Nation Oz. I'm not really a draft guy. I do the best that I can to look at highlights, and I try and think, okay, what does a team need? Of course, we need a quarterback. We need defensive line. We need maybe some more cornerback help. Possibly a receiver wouldn't go astray or a running back. But in terms of college prospects, I just look around highlights. I try and look into what the experts are saying, break it down bit by bit as best I can with the time that I have available. So not really a draft guy. So if you're looking for draft advice or draft, who's the best player the Steelers should go and get, whoever's wearing black and gold, I would cheer for in that sense. But I find it kind of funny right now, and even for this episode, right? A few weeks ago, Mason Rudolph. Last week, Aaron Rodgers was in the facility, was there for 6 hours. Reportedly, it was a good day, though everyone was getting along, and there's still been no contract signed. At the same time, like I said, it's like two different roads at the moment. One part of me feels like I'm a Steelers fan. I want to know what's happening. I want to figure out. And you could be like me as well at home, or you're driving or whatever. You'd be like, man, I want to figure it out. I want to know, where's our quarterback? Are we going to sign a quarterback? Are we going to have any QB1? It's a Mason Rudolph's team. And the other side of me says, well, this is kind of like what the Pittsburgh Steelers do. And Mike Tomlin had an interview and some questions from the Steelers media team out there and reporters and everyone over there at the owners meeting. And I think as well, there's meant to be another set of questions too. The owners meeting goes for 2 or 3 days. And Mike Tomlin didn't really say too much in terms of Aaron Rodgers. So we're kind of stuck here. As a fan, it feels like, how long do we wait? Is it business? Is it business where Aaron Rodgers is playing the game with the Pittsburgh Steelers organization? As a fan, you want to know who the quarterback is, so you can go buy the jersey, you can go look at highlights, you can kind of figure out where the team should go next. And like I said, the draft's coming around the corner in 20-something days, and they've been linked to all these quarterbacks. I think Dart was one of them, where they had lunch with him or went to his pro day. What's the other bloke there? Milroe from Alabama. I'm slowly learning names here and here and here, but I have been very busy over the weekend. So I'm reading reports and articles and all those kind of things from ESPN and seeing where, the scouts and Omar Khan and whoever and Mike Tomlin are going, because this right now is very busy. A very busy time for the organization to try and find the next draftees in 2025. And then people have also been talking about the comp picks next year in 2026. I will be going to Pittsburgh next year. I just got to figure out a hotel. But I'll definitely be there, flying over there for a week or so in Pittsburgh to celebrate with the other 700,000 fans that are going to turn up. So that's going to be awesome. But it does feel kind of strange right now. And then we have no quarterback. And Mike Tomlin got asked about the quarterback. And I want to bring up a few quotes, a few things he said in one of his first interviews, talking about Rodgers and all these kind of things. He really didn't we can't expect. We should. It's funny. We should expect this. We want more as a fan base. We want Mike Tomlin to say, you know what? Yeah, the Rodgers deal went fantastic. We're going to sign into a 2-year deal. We're going to draft a quarterback in this year's draft, 2025. Going to develop his skills. Mason Rudolph will be QB2. That draftee will be QB3. But you don't hear that. You don't hear that. You hear pretty much like mum's the word on this. So one of Mike Tomlin's responses was, "We are still evaluating the acquisition of a guy at the position." This is talking about QB, whether it's free agency and / or draft. And so we're doing our due diligence, communicating with some free agents, also preparing for the draft. It's a very non-answer. It's a very nothing's happening, waiting. The fan base is getting angry, a bit frustrated in terms of that position. But like I said a few weeks ago, I thought it was Mason Rudolph. I thought if no one's going to sign right now, it's Mason Rudolph QB1, and I'm happy with that. If the Steelers go that direction and try and build the team around him, maybe you can win 9, 10 games, 11 games, give you a chance to go to the playoffs. Not saying Mason Rudolph is QB1 material for the future or the franchise, but it would be a pretty fun season. It was a fun ride when we had Mason Rudolph save Christmas during that December time over 3 games. I think he possibly does deserve a chance to be QB1 going into summer, have a full off season, and kind of see what happens. Because the Steelers haven't solved that issue with the quarterback. They just haven't. Since Big Ben, they haven't done it. We're not turning into the Browns, where the Browns have every single quarterback name under their jersey, but it is getting pretty long in the tooth, a tiny bit. The 6 quarterbacks now that have been since Big Ben is Trubisky, couldn't stand him, Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett. There was another one too. There was Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, and I'm missing one. I think I'm missing one. There's 5 or 6 quarterbacks that have been since Big Ben retired. All right, 5 or 6 quarterbacks since then, and it feels like, or possibly 6 could be Aaron Rodgers. I've seen the image going around Twitter. It's like a 6 last name Steeler jersey that looks like the Browns jersey. Not saying we're there yet, but it does feel like this situation needs to be solved. And the fan base like me, and if you guys out there too, if you sit in the bar with me, slamming beers down, trying to change the channel, you know what too? If we went to the bar now, and I'll bring this up, I've been watching to pass the time a bit. I've been getting into the UFL. So I watched the UFL over the weekend. It was kind of fun. I think I might be choosing to support. I'm leaning towards the DC Defenders because they have a thing called the beer snake. And I think that's kind of awesome. You drink beers and you just feel it all the way from bottom to top. So if we're in the bar chilling, changing the TV, there's baseball now, there's NBA, there's NHL, there's college basketball, there's so many different American sports. That's why I love America too. It's so much fun going to the bar, ordering food, having a few beers, and just chilling out, watching sport. That's why I love it. It's just a good time. If we're chilling there, we still don't have a quarterback. We don't have it. And Mike Tomlin's response, when he's talking about this, getting asked about that question, is we're doing our due diligence, communicating with some free agents, and also preparing for the draft. So there's no real dead giveaway what Tomlin is saying about the QB room in terms of who's going to be QB1. All we really know at this time, I think, is going to be who is QB2, right? So I'm reading this article here. It says here, Tomlin insisted the franchise is optimistic about the room that we're constructing, and they will continue to explore all our options in terms of rounding that room out. That's just coach talk. Look, I love Mike Tomlin. I know some don't. I think Mike Tomlin's leadership is awesome. I think he gets players to play at the best of their ability. He's been coaching a long time, been my coach for a long time. I've been a Steelers fan for a long time. So I understand that some people don't like Mike Tomlin and they're 50-50 with him, but I do. I like him. So, but at the same time, when you hear these things, it's just coach talk. You're not going to get anything out of that. And then he goes on to talk about someone in the meeting, I think in the interview with Tomlin, they brought up Aaron Rodgers. And it says here, well, this is what Mike Tomlin's response. It's been reported that he spent a day with us, which happened. That was a true thing. And it was a really good day, Tomlin said. Specifically, he and I obviously have known each other for some time. As you go back to all those games, even last year, there was a nod when he was wearing the Jets uniform. Mike Tomlin looked over and gave him a nod. I think it was some kind of penalty. So they have that, connection from coach and trying to outsmart each other from a defense perspective to the quarterback. So you have that relationship been going on for years. And Mike Tomlin says here, and so it was really good to spend some time together, uh, man, and get to know each other more intimately, but it's also free agency and it's a process. I have nothing of any more significance to add other than that, which really is, again, just more coach talk. So these meetings are happening right now. They're trying to decide like kickoff rules. They're trying to decide will they use, the yardsticks and instead, or will they use like the digital technology for first downs and things like that. All the owners, I think coaches are getting together, trying to decide, better rules and hopefully good rules for the future of the game. And then obviously Steelers reporters and media get media passes and go down there and talk to Mike Tomlin and try and get some answers because right now the fan base does not have any answers. Nothing. All we have is the people on our roster. And I think sometimes too, we do focus on that a little bit as well. Like we still got TJ Watt, Highsmith on our roster, Cameron Haywood, Minka. I think Deshaun Elliott had a fantastic year last year. I think Patrick Queen can also grow into his role as middle linebacker. You're going to see Wilson. He could be pairing next to Queen. Elena Roberts is now out at middle linebacker. Cole Holcomb could be coming back on defense. Keanu Benton into his, I think, second or third year from memory, and I do apologize. I think it's second year for Keanu Benton. That's quite exciting, right, to see him come there. And also, the Steelers could go into the draft, a DL for this draft coming up. They might go first round. They could go first round to get a defensive lineman. That could be a possibility to help out that room getting, hopefully younger because Cameron Hayward, he's playing good football. At the same time, though, he's getting older. He's going to probably retire maybe this year or next year, but I would want to see him play as long as he can. So we sometimes forget that the Steelers have these good players and great players on the roster, and we are so focused as a fan base, I believe, we're so focused on, firing coaches and also who's their quarterback. But that's where the news is going right now. And even on the offensive side of the ball, our receiver room has never looked better. Like getting DK Metcalf and George Pickens, it looks like he's going to stay, even though there could be a possibility that he might be getting traded because Steelers could do that. Not saying they will, but they definitely could do that because he's on his last year of his contract. Or do the Steelers keep Pickens and Metcalf together to be the Basham brothers from, the Mighty Ducks and be two bruisers who are very physical, jumping up and getting the ball and going down the sidelines and scoring TDs. And then you have Austin, Frymouth, Darnell, picked up Donald Parham Jr. I think the offensive line will be better. Maybe they'll add to that as well in the draft in terms of getting maybe a backup tackle or, guard somewhere. Could be a possibility. Zach Frazier into his second year. So there's some fun things happening for the Steelers franchise, but then it comes back to who's our quarterback? Who's going to be QB1? Who's our quarterback? And this is why I'm not a huge fan. I said, I think it was last week. I said last week, if Rodgers is our quarterback, I'm okay with it. If it happens, if he is the quarterback, fine. I'll deal with it. If he wins his games, fantastic. But if he doesn't, I don't want it to happen. I don't want him to be the 41-year-old turning 42-year-old quarterback, old man Rodgers at QB1 position, leading our team into 2025. But if it happens, it happens. I'm Mark from Steelers Nation Australia. I will support the team until I'm blue in the face, or it's 2,400 if I live 400 years, because they have some weird technology that I'm allowed to stay alive that long. I'll be black and gold forever. So I'm not going to not watch because A-Rod is the QB, but I don't want to see A-Rod to be the quarterback. I just don't want to see that happen. I would prefer them go on the draft or get Mason Rudolph a shot for a true off season, but it looks like the Steelers are now waiting, or from our perspective, waiting patiently, or waiting, and we're waiting. We're very frustrated, but waiting nonetheless for Rodgers to make a choice. And now coming up soon as well, and I was talking to my good mate, Bubba, and from Steelers Dynasty Podcast. If you search him on YouTube with Shane, they do a good podcast pretty much every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Steelers Dynasty Podcast. I was talking to Shane and Bubba, and Bubba said there could be a possibility that Aaron Rodgers might announce his big decision coming. I think it's the 9th of April, so 9 days away or 10 days away, when he's on the Pat McAfee show, because he's in Pittsburgh. Now, that could be huge. That could be huge. And obviously, it would be a Rodgers thing to do. He'd walk out. I think it's what's it called? Mellon Arena now? They call it something else. What is the Penn Stadium called? It used to be called Mellon Arena. I can't remember what it's called. Penguins. I've got to search on the fly. Penguins NHL Stadium. What I see it, is it Paints Arena? Yeah. PPG Paints Arena. Apparently, there's going to be a show with what's his face, that bloke, Pat McAfee, and Rodgers is going to be on the show in PPG Paints Arena, April 9th. There could be a huge possibility all this waiting could be ended with maybe a retirement, or he comes out swinging a black and gold terrible towel. Right here, Steel Nation, we'll go to a quick break. Here on YouTube, stick around for 4 or 5 seconds, but we're going to quick break on Steel Curtain Network, and we'll be right back talking more Steelers talk, but nothing's really happening. I might go to my wish list. We'll do on the second half, we'll do a wish list, and also, if you want to leave me any comments or questions or whatever it may be, just hit me up on Twitter or X. I think it's like Steelers, @SteelersOz, so @Steelers, and then OZ. Hit me up with questions or comments and see if you like the show, fantastic. And if you don't like the show, that's fine too. But if you do like the show, leave me a comment or whatever it may be. So after this break, we'll talk about my wish list that I want to see happen in the next few weeks, because the draft's coming up very shortly. And we're back, Steeler Nation. Welcome back to Steelers Nation Australia here on YouTube, and welcome back as well to the Steel Curtain Network. In the first half, we're talking about Mike Tomlin and Rodgers. Mike Tomlin was asked a few questions about Rodgers, and he just really gave stock standard answers, and saying that it was a really good time, it was a good day. They've known each other for a long time. It was a great time to spend with each other, working out the free agent product. It's a process, nothing more to add. What else did he say? Still evaluating the position, that was QB, and they're doing their due diligence, communicating with some free agents, and also preparing for the draft. And I am as well. I'm trying to prepare for the draft. I'll be going live here on Steel Nation Australia, probably the first 2 days, the third day though. So in America, when it's like your 1 p.m., your 12 lunchtime, I'm fast asleep at midnight. So when we do the draft, I'll do the first 2 days because your 8 p.m. is like my 11 a.m. So I'm 15 hours in front, but 9 hours or 10 hours behind in the news cycle. I'm 1 day in front, but when the news does happen, I've missed it. I've slept all through it. I wake up and go, oh man, Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then I've got to read and react to it straight away as I'm waking up having a coffee. So when the draft comes around, I'll be doing day 1, day 2, and day 3. I'll probably be going to work, because I did it last year with one of the former hosts here on Steel Curtain Network, Matty Peveril, and I had Bubba and Shane from the Steelers Dynasty podcast on the show as well. And we stayed up like 6-7 hours. It was a long time. It was too long. And I was super tired the next day because I woke up at like 2 a.m. to then watch the day 3 draft, which we didn't have a pick for ages. And we watched the draft for about 6-7 hours. And I was live streaming on Steel Nation Oz. If you want to check me out there too on YouTube, you can. If you're on YouTube already, hit the like and stuff like that. But it was a long time. But we're getting ready for the draft, and we still don't have a quarterback. So one of this second part of the episode on G'day Steelers Nation, I wanted to go through maybe like my wish list of like what I want to happen in terms of like signing players, draftees, the Rodgers speculation, and all that kind of stuff, and the Rodgers watch. Like we're just waiting and waiting to find out if he's going to be a Steeler. And as the days wait longer, I think Steeler fans care less. Like we're just like kind of over it. We're what, 28 days or whatever is away from the draft. It's around 4 weeks away, and we still don't have a quarterback. I hope that, you know what? We'll start here. My first part of the wish list, and I don't care what quarterback it is, I would prefer not to see a quarterback drafted in round 1. Don't want to see it. I don't want to see any connection. I want the Steelers to go a different direction. I don't want to see quarterback round one. Simply for the fact is I think the Steelers were burnt a bit by the Kenny Pickett situation. A lot of pressure on Kenny Pickett. He was kind of drafted after the Ben era. They tried Trubisky. That didn't work out. He was thrown into the game, into the Jets game after week 4. Maybe wasn't given the tools necessary to compete or maybe learn. And, there's always this problem out there that fans bring up and say, well, Mike Tomlin can't develop a quarterback. That could be true. Not saying it is, but it could be true. But the quarterback at round 1, I don't want to see it. I would rather the Steelers steer clear from that and go a different position. So my first of all wish list on this particular topic is don't reach for a quarterback. Don't draft them at 21, whoever it may be. If it's Dart or whoever, I don't care. I don't even care if Dart's meant to go there. If Dart's meant to go round 3 or 2. If you miss him, we haven't got a round 2 pick. Do not draft a quarterback in the round 1. Just for the simple fact there's going to be too much pressure on him. I'd rather the Steelers go with Rudolph for two seasons. And here's actually a funny one. I'm going to hand the question over to you guys from Steel Nation Australia and also Steel Curtain Network. Here it is. All listeners out there. Here's a very if you don't like Aaron Rodgers, right? Like myself, put my hand up. If you don't like Aaron Rodgers, this is going to be an either or, and you have to pick one. What would you prefer? Would you prefer the Steelers to draft a quarterback in round 1, right? Or column B, would you prefer column B, the Steelers sign Aaron Rodgers to a 2-year deal? Now I'm going to put myself in a bit of a pickle here. I've talked about many episodes on G'day Steelers Nation. This episode number 7, I believe it is, 7 or 8. I said I don't want Aaron Rodgers to be quarterback. However, I actually would prefer. I prefer Aaron Rodgers to sign a 2-year deal than to draft the quarterback in round 1, right? For the simple fact is, I think there's a lot of pressure. On the quarterbacks to be drafted in this, especially in this draft now. Now, I've heard from a lot of reporters out there, this isn't the time. The time isn't. I'm just going off them. I'm not going off one because I'm not a draft guy. I'm going off them. I've heard that this isn't the time to draft a quarterback in round 1. Next year is the time to draft a quarterback in round 1 if they were to move the comp picks and try and trade up as best they can, right? And also, it's in Pittsburgh. So whatever we come, if the Steelers were to have a bad season and win 7, 8 games, or maybe the similar one here where they win 10 games and they get booted out of the playoffs, or whatever happens, if they're 21, 22, 23, they might trade up to get a quarterback in round 1, and you'd be in Pittsburgh, and the crowd would go absolutely crazy if they loved that quarterback. The crowd would go nuts. It would be in Pittsburgh. It would be a party time. Round 1, 2026, draft a quarterback, whoever that may be. It would be insane. That's what I keep hearing. I keep hearing from all the analysts is that the Steelers would maybe prefer or look likely to build up the roster this year in 2025 on the D-line, O-line, cornerback, linebacker, wherever. Just build all the players up, get younger, get better skilled players on the D-line, on the offensive line, and then next year is the time you trade up and attack to get quarterback. So I'll put you guys in a bit of a conundrum. Who would you rather go? Would you rather go Rodgers or the QB1 drafted this year? I think a lot of people would say Rodgers, even though they're not a fan of Aaron Rodgers. Right, yeah. My second thing on my wish list, I do want the Steelers. I think out of all the positions, I've been thinking about this, and I've said many times, not a draft guy. But I do want the Steelers to draft a DL, defensive lineman, I think in the first round. I think it's time. The last 2 years, we've drafted, I believe, Broderick Jones, Troy Fautanu. He's going to come back from injury. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch, to cheer him on in training camp. But I think it's time for the Steelers to get younger at that position. It could be one of the blokes I do know is that Kenneth Grant. He could be an idea. I think he's out of Michigan. He might be a round 1 selection at 21. Steelers can get bigger, stronger, younger at the D line, and also get a bit of help from Cameron Hayward to be. Obviously, he's a leader. He's the leadership of that locker room. So my other part of my wish list is, if I'm sending one to Santa, and it's far too early. We're in March, near April. But if I was writing a letter to Santa, I'd be like, man, you got to avoid QB1, and also at the same time, I wouldn't mind seeing defensive linemen. And also in the comments below too, if you're on the audio platforms, you can find a place to put comments or wherever it may be. If you're tweeting me, tweet me who should the Steelers, what defensive lineman should they go out and get? I think it's just putting itself in a situation. If once the Steelers do figure out the QB position, it looks like they're going to go defensive lineman at that position too. So that would be my first two things on my wish list: is don't sign a QB1 or draft a QB1 in the first round. In the first round, I would rather a defensive lineman. And my third and final wish list, or my third and final three tick approval. If I was asking the genie for three wishes, I'd say this Aaron Rodgers thing. I'm just gonna say it out loud, right? This A-Rod thing's got to end. I'm hoping by the time this video comes out, and if you guys listen to 26 minutes, 27 minutes, 20, 30, 30, 40 minutes, whatever it is, I hope to goodness that this Aaron Rodgers drama just ends. Either retire, sign with the Steelers, sign with the Packers. I don't care. Go back to Green Bay. Sign with the Vikings. You probably can't now sign with the Giants because Russell Wilson's over there. But my last one, I just hope the Aaron Rodgers saga ends. I'm sick of seeing articles connected, our team, Pittsburgh Steelers, connected to someone who I don't want them to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. At the same time, though, if it ends the drama and it ends everything, I'm happy for it to be over. Like, just sign the contract. If you had a meeting with Mike Tomlin, if Mike Tomlin's being very mum's a word, not talking about A-Rod in terms of the QB, Mike Tomlin said we were spending more time together, getting to know each other, that he values as a player and a man, and what he might be looking for with his next stop. Right? All these things are great. There's going to be more questions asked to Mike Tomlin, during these owners meeting and coaching meetings. I just want it to end, 100%. So Mike Tomlin and Rodgers has the relationship over the last few years, or being coaching and playing in the league for a long time, like 17, 18, 19 years. And Mike Tomlin said, "Oh, I want to spend more time, get to know him better, the values, what kind of man he is, what he's looking for with his next stop." My wish is, I just wish he'd choose somewhere. I dead set wish he would just choose a team, just get it over and done with, choose the Pittsburgh Steelers, choose someone else, and then we can finally move on and get ready for the draft. Because it does feel like the QB1 is slowing things down from a fan's perspective, even though it might not be from a business standpoint, from an organizational standpoint, from a fan's perspective. It feels like A-Rod's in the way. Just either sign, what do they say? Yeah, sign or get off the pot. And you guys can replace that sign word with something else. Sign or get off the pot. That's pretty much it. Sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers or get off the pot. Right now, I'm kind of done. I'm done with it. Alrighty, Steel Nation, thank you. Thank you for checking out Steelers Nation Australia. And also thank you for checking out Steel Curtain Network. I believe this one was my episode 7. Talking here on Steel Curtain Network, and the show is called G'day Steelers Nation. So I appreciate all the listeners who listen around the world in America. We're all Steelers fans. We all want to chase the Lombardi again, to get that feeling of our team hoisting number 7. I've seen 2 Super Bowls in my life. That was 40 and 43. One of my favorite players, or my favorite player ever, is James Debo Harrison. I'm hoping he can get to the Hall of Fame. Maybe I can go over there and see his Hall of Fame speech. And when they induct him, I would love to go over also and see Mike Tomlin. Go to Canton again and see Mike Tomlin in the Hall of Fame. But he's about probably 5 years away from that. But he might be a first ballot as well. So we're all Steelers fans here. So I appreciate you guys from Steelers Nation Australia. And I appreciate Steel Curtain Network as well. It's been a lot of fun. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Mike Tomlin, he's not saying too much about the QB position. Steelers fans are getting very frustrated and annoyed, but I'm hoping soon that he retires. Aaron Rodgers retires or finds a team or signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but we're also very close to the draft. So thank you everyone for checking out Steel Nation Oz and also the Steel Curtain Network. I'll see you guys later on.